Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for coming to our annual Rory Meyers College of Nursing State of the College address. This is always a great occasion, and it's so uplifting to me to be able to give this talk because it represents everything that you all do all the time and work together for, and how we work together as a community. So it's exciting, and I think today we're going to talk about as much about what we've done, but also pathways that lie ahead for us. So I want to acknowledge a couple of folks who are here from our Dean Council members. We'll have our Dean's Council luncheon and meeting this afternoon after we go through this, but I have here that Barbara Calabrese is here, if you want to wave your hand, Rachel Akeley, Kim Glassman, Carl Curtin, Jerry Lobionda Wood, Maggie McClure, Cynthia Skolko. So thank you all for coming, and great to see you. Maureen Heasley is here as well, and from our board, and thank you for everything you do to support these efforts as we go through. And of course, all of our staff and faculty who are here. Lisa Coleman is here from the university leadership team, one of my colleagues there in what we call the SLT, the senior leadership team. So I belong to you, but I belong to them. And that's great. And several folks from our alumni board that I saw here. Sylvia, you want to raise your hand, and Adam, who are here. So thank you to our alumni board for your continued support of us. And so as we go through today, I am, in the technology of things, going to be turning pages at the same time that I click moving forward. So our title for the State of the College this year is Thinking Big. Some of you may have heard a little bit about Thinking Big. Standing for Belonging, Innovation, and Global. And that represents for us the title for our next 5-year strategic plan. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as I get to the end of the presentation. But when we looked back as a group, and that means all of us, and looking at our annual achievements on the last 5-year strategic plan, 2014 to 2019, there were a number of areas that we've really done very well with, and that includes student enrollment, faculty recruitment, our staff build-up, our structures and processes for how the school runs. And there were 3 areas that we thought we could do a bit more with, we've touched on, but we didn't have them as very specific goals for the school. And that were these areas. We did have core values in our last 5-year strategic plan that include fostering diversity in our student population, faculty, and staff, advancing innovation and creativity, driving quality in academic and research programs, and promoting a culture of collegiality and respect. And then in addition to those core values that we've worked on over and over that helped us get over humps and bumps and barriers were also our operating assumptions as to, well, how do we tackle this problem? What are we all assumed together to do? And that, of course, is that transparency is essential. That was a big deal when I arrived, that people wanted to feel transparent about processes in 2012. That data will drive decision-making, and that leaders will be mindful that we are a community of many voices. But we didn't have these 3 areas built in tightly to our goals. And in these 3 areas are our opportunities that we've been working on, and now I think we can leap forward with. So as you see, we have diversity or belonging, we had innovation in there, and we've had the sense of community of many voices, meaning to me global or local outreach. So today's talk, I'm going to do a little bit about what it means to be in belonging and what we've been doing in belonging, and then what we have done with innovation, and what we've done with global, and then what our challenges are. So it's a little bit of a different organization than just say, here were our goals, but here's where we're going ahead. We continue to have a wonderful, robust faculty recruitment effort, and our new faculty for this year, some of whom are here, Regina Cardassi as a nurse midwife and expert in women's healthcare. There's Regina over there, welcome. Daniel David over here is an expert from University of California, San Francisco in gerontology and several chronic diseases. Natalie Garcia, I didn't see Natalie when she came in. Ashley Graham-Perrell. Gia Merlo over here. Gia, raise your hand, as a clinical professor in adult adolescent psychiatry, as well as she has an appointment as a senior advisor to wellness at the university. And Princess Villacarlos. So these are our new recruitments this year joining our faculty. And one of the important things that we've talked about in belonging over the years is also feeling that you're recognized for the work that you do. And so promotions has been an important area to recognize that we want people to feel inspired to take up challenges and then recognize those things. So Marigold Alberto is now director of our academic and clinical affairs. Brian DeCourcy, program administrator in the graduate program. Angela Godwin has moved from instructor to clinical assistant professor. Ashley Mott, student activities administrator. If you're here, raise your hand. There you are, hi. Julia Rubio. Julie Rubio is administrative aide 2 in the undergraduate program. A very, very busy job, very busy program. Hank Sherwood is now an associate director for communication. And of course, we can thank Hank for so many of our graphics and our design, but the slides today. So you can tell Hank what you think of this very new, sophisticated, clean graphic look. Fortuna Smith, who has been a bell rock, there you are, bellwether and a rock for so many positions in our college for a number of years, is now assistant director of the undergraduate student affairs and admissions. So congratulations to her. And Jacqueline Taylor was promoted to professor in our faculty. So congratulations to all of those promotions this year. New titles. Gail Melkus will now be our Vice Dean for Research. And Gail has really stepped up to work not only closely with the university administration, but across the country and the world to really promote our research and build up our PLUS Center and continue to advise us, and has been a strong foundation for the success we've had. Gail sends regrets that she cannot be here today. She is actually today giving the eulogy for Ruth McCorkle at Yale. Ruth McCorkle, for those of you who don't know, is an esteemed researcher in nursing and oncology cancer research, one of the people who actually is considered a founding mother of oncology nursing, and a living legend in the American Academy of Nursing, and a mentor of Gail's. And so she had asked Gail to deliver her eulogy today. So that's where Gail is, and I think it's fitting that I'm able to announce this promotion for Gail in a day that she's, seeing her mentor transition. Tanisha Johnson-Campbell has been doing so much in belonging as our assistant dean for advising and academic services, and we now have belonging, so raise. There you are. She's and Natalie Paslinsky is executive director of our simulation learning program. So congratulations to all of you on those achievements. We have had so many achievements of faculty this year, and in the early spring, the university recognizes faculty achievements awards with a major celebration and a recognition of everyone. And we add these names all year long to that celebration. So I just want to give you a highlight. There's enough that it'll tell you the impact that we are having everywhere. But let's think about what these things really mean. So when we say award, we use that word so commonly that sometimes we stop to think about what it really means. But it's something that is conferred or bestowed, especially on the basis of merit, or it can be for need. So you get an award because a student needs a scholarship award, but for the most part, it's done on the basis of merit. So let's look at a number of these awards that people have received. Larry Slater from the American Nurse Association, New York chapter, for his recognition of his nursing education work. From the Eastern Nursing Research Society, one of the 4 research societies in the United States, Chris Kovner received the recognition for her distinguished contributions for the 2018 Nursing Research Award from that group. Jacqueline Taylor was recognized by the Greater New York City chapter of Black Nurses Association for her research. At the National Black Nurses Association, Selena Gillis was recognized as one of Under 40 award from the National Black Nurses Association. Under 40 means we're not supposed to talk about age, but it's like it's those who are of a certain generation. The leaders that we want to see up and coming and moving forward. Michelle Crespo Fierro received the Nurse of the Year Award from the National Association of Hispanic Nurses, a national award. And from that same group, Michelle, at a New York chapter, received a Nurse of the Year Award. And we all know the work that she does, not only with our WHO Collaborating Center, local work that she does in chapters to promote nursing careers among Hispanic nurses. And she and Allison Squires did a number of interviews in local television this year to really promote Latina nurses coming forward in their careers. And Selena Gillis also recognized in the LEAD program, the leadership program of the National League for Nursing. So leadership, the act or an instance of leading, and there's many different ways to lead, but we have a number of people who are stepping forward and are doing things that have great impact in their leadership. And I guess I should mention that I'm, of course, going to be stepping into the presidency of the American Academy of Nursing on October 26th, so that's a pretty big deal. And so NYU will be, even as president-elect, NYU will have a great influence, and always has, because we have past presidents from NYU in that organization, one of whom is here, Maggie McClure. So Maggie is past president of the American Academy of Nursing. I look forward to following in your footsteps, and I've already met with Maggie about that to give me advice. And I have a bigger staff than you did when you started. Maggie talked about how she had no staff. And of course, we knew that Maggie would be able to move that forward. But also in university leadership, the University Senate, which is the governance structure of this university, there's an executive committee made up of the chairs of the councils of that Senate, plus the secretary and treasurer and advisors to the president. The president chairs that. And Larry Slater is on that executive committee as chair of the Continuing Contract Faculty Council. And I'm on that as chair of the Dean's Council. So we had our first meeting yesterday, and everyone looked around and said, we have a cabal of nursing, and very warmly welcomed. And so in terms of the leadership of the university, we're thrilled to have the honor to do that. But look at the number of things. So Jen Pettis, some of you may not know Jen, she is active in our niche program as the director of our long-term care activities. She was named as the Alzheimer's ambassador to Senator Schumer this year for her work and national work that she's done for many years and will continue to do. In the Council for the Advancement of Nursing Science, which is an initiative of the Academy of Nursing, and Margaret Navarro has been invited to serve as a member of the Conference Planning Committee. That's a major national group. In the Eastern Nursing Research Society, again, 2 leadership positions. Vicki Vaughn Dixon was elected president. of that group on our faculty. And Margaret, of course, was reelected for a second term on the board, so we have significant presence there. In the Hospice and Palliative Care Nurses Association, Ab Brody was asked to give the annual lecture at its assembly on palliative care nursing leadership. Jackie Taylor is a member of the 2019-21 National Academy of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine's Roundtable on Genomics and Precision Health. Joyce Anastasi was appointed to a prestigious National Institute of Health HIV-associated comorbidities and co-infections work group. And that's a privilege to come to the scientific table and advise and move the science forward in that area. And Amy Wachowski-Stipfel is invited to be a member of an expert panel by the Leapfrog Group on Hospital Survey of her research and work that she has. And so let's have a round of applause for all of those terrific. And that doesn't encompass all the rest of these. So as we do the award ceremony at the end of the year, or in February, we'll recognize everyone. But here, just look at these categories of awards and recognitions in leadership that occur. We have a nurse scholar in Allison Squires, who's a National Academy of Medicine, a nurse scholar for the future of nursing. We have 9 people who have received national organization recognition. We have one person inducted to a Nursing Hall of Fame, ANA. We have one person, Donna Hallis, received an AJN Book of the Year award. We have 12 people on our faculty who've been newly inducted as fellows in national organizations, and a distinguished faculty award by their alums. So all of these means that NYU are recognized and are having impact. And then among our staff are also out there in leaders and receiving recognition. The Distinguished Staff Award this year to Jasmine Mentori, Distinguished Administrator Award to Eileen Ratner, Distinguished Administrator Award to Titi Layo-Kuti, and the Promise Award of Myers to Cinnamon St. John for their work. So let's have a round of applause for our staff. The International DAISY Foundation is a group that recognizes work in nursing, education, and nursing care based on a family who started the foundation in honor of a child they lost. And this year is the first time that we have DAISY Foundation award winners at Myers. And Donna McCabe received who's a clinical assistant professor, received the faculty award, and Frank Baez, the student award graduate this year of BS in 2019. So congratulations to them. So, in terms of belonging and belonging to leadership, belonging to the university, one of our aims has been to increase the diversity of our faculty and our student body, but at the same time feel included and be in a community. So this year, for the first time, we have gone over 50% of our faculty who identify as underrepresented nursing groups. Now that includes, for underrepresented nursing groups, men. So that means that, and that is quite unique. And we, of course, are recognized by the National Association of Men in Nursing as an outstanding university for our School of Nursing for that. But we have achieved something that we've worked on for a number of years, so that's terrific. And our staff, 49% of staff identify as underrepresented groups. That does not include men. So, but because nursing has a minority, men less than 8% or less, that's why we included it that way. Another important change this year to recognize, and I'll go through these numbers, is we have the traditional first-year undergraduate admissions. And so when I arrived in 2012, 2013, and meeting with Amy Knowles and the team, I remember Barbara Krajinovic-Miller was, and Judy Haber and Deb Chun and all those, Ellen Lyons, of course, still there. We were looking at how do we increase our yield, improve our admissions, because of our financial aid and because of a few other things, we weren't where we thought we should be for the quality of our program. And I can say that I think this year we've recognized that. So this is for the group of students who are coming in for 4 years of education at NYU. And we have the highest number of applications in that group, 2,100 or more applications, which is 46% higher than last year. So congratulations to Amy and her team on that recruitment. And so we want an enrollment of 71. So you see the number down there, 71. That's where we're aiming for the class. So we admit 147 because we know that not everyone will select NYU, which gave us a 7% admit rate. So that's high. I haven't found another school of nursing in the country yet that have a 7% admit rate. They might, but for your traditional first-year grads, that's fabulous. The only other school at NYU that has a 7% admit rate this year is Stern. So we are right in there, and as Bob Cashin said to me, well, that's just like Harvard. And I said, well, that was our goal. We're the Harvard of nursing. So that number, 7%, is down. Last year, our number admit rate was 12%. We admitted 12% in that category. But look at this. Of those 71, many people enrolled. And we're actually more, we try and predict who's going to enroll for the seats in the classroom. And that's up. So more people said, yes, I'm coming for those that we admitted. And so we now have 30 extra folks that we didn't expect. And, you know, that means that some of you in the undergrad program and others are looking at, well, how do we find 4 more clinical sites and 4 more preceptors for that 30? How do we find another classroom for that 30? And how do we arrange 5 more clinical simulations? Because this is what we're trying to look at. And we all know that that's tight. But we'll rise to the challenge, and it's a good challenge to have. But that's a turning point for us to be looking at these numbers this way. So we should be proud of that. These are the fall application rates, admitted, enrolled. And all of these numbers are good and consistent with national rankings. In this number where you see BS, we have 3591. Now I showed you the number of 2,100 before that. This is all in. This is all the accelerated students, all the transfers, and all of that in this number. So we had 3,500 or more applications for all of the slots. And we admitted 18%, which is an excellent number, and enrolled 51%. Our MS, our DNP, and our PhD programs are enrolling at the rate that we want to see them enroll. And our MS, our admit rate is fairly high. Many of them are our alum, and we know them. And so they're all excellent candidates. So for the MS, we're receiving about twice as many applicants for the slots that we have. But we know them and we enroll them, and that's fairly high. And we are staying steady with what we want along with our budget. So along with, on the bottom line, you see that there's a slight decrease in graduate applications. Undergraduate is staying steady. Our targeted enrollment is where we want it to be. We, this year, have a total enrollment of 1,553. We budget for a little around 1,520. And so we're exactly where we want to be, and this is good news. And here is where we have been consistently successful, and that is looking at the student body that we enroll along inclusivity or belonging, and that means that in our darker violet, as you see, are us. And so we, like the rest of the admitting class for NYU this year, we have no majority groups. And we have a more diverse group than the gray bars, which are the national bars from the American Association of Colleges of Nursing, to compare ourselves to. So we have a much more diverse group. And this year, African American, Black identification went up a little bit. That had dropped down. So we're good there. And we have 14% men entering into the first year class. The national average is usually like 8%. We still, of course, would want to see a goal of that up around 40 or 50%, and that will change our culture. But our culture also needs to change to get there. And we are increasing the financial aid that we're able to provide to students. We're still not making all of the financial aid to close all the gaps for our students, but we're improving it, and we have been setting up separate endowments as we have funds to do that. So that's what helps us increase, and of course the gift from the Myers family helps us with that each year. And here are our Myers Scholars to date, 2 slides. We now have a total of 9. So our first 2, Rachel and Gavin, and last year's group, Noor, Amberlyn, and Rian, remain, of course, in class going through the traditional. And then here's 4 new Myers Scholars this year: Kali Delp, Leslie Rocano, Eric Lee, and MD Shajidul Islam. So I know that Eric is here, and Leslie, are you here? There you're hiding over there. Raise your hands. I saw you came in. So congratulations to you and welcome. We're thrilled to be here. And so next year we'll continue to add, and so next year we'll have Myers Scholars in every one of the 4-year classes, and so that'll continue to grow. One of the other things for belonging that we've been doing is reaching out to alumni and really making a difference with reaching out to young alumni, past alumni, but making opportunities for the alumni to be engaged. So that we had, thanks to Janet Griffin and her team, this year, 250 more first-time attendees at events that she has arranged, and those activities include a wide variety of things, including networking, so people get to know one another and network about positions, jobs, opportunity, but also mentoring opportunities so that the alumni volunteer to mentor, particularly the undergraduate students and others. And so we've had a very vibrant alumni activities and alumni day. So those are all our belonging thoughts about where we are to give us a sense of what we're doing and where we might need to go. So where are we with innovation? If we think about where we started with a couple of years ago, we did an innovation summit, and we've moved along both in education and opportunities for faculty and students. This is our Innovation at Myers graphics about the number of activities that we're putting together, that we have a visible vision around innovation. That's really important, that we have some strategic goals, and that the mission feels meaningful to everyone engaged. And so here are the things that are very formally going on around innovation. We have been working with funding from the Rita and Alex Hillman Foundation, from Jerry Barandes on our Dean's Council, and the Rudin Foundation to support the integration of design thinking in our undergraduate curriculum. And the faculty heard a report on this at our meeting last week. And that's being led by Emerson Ia and Mary Jo Vetter on our faculty to move that forward very step by step. And the Hillman Foundation continues to support that effort each year. And so what's design thinking? It's a different way of having students get engaged in critical thinking, but it comes from both the ground up, from taking a look at a problem, and from working together in groups. And it'll create a class when we have these students graduate who will be able to connect in employment settings with what is increasingly becoming design thinking in institutions for solving problems. And there are a number of hospitals that increasingly are having employed nurses or employees who are make-a-thons and run hackathons. And so these NYU graduates will be prepared to step right into opportunities in employed settings to do this. And what we're hearing, for example, from the Veterans Administration is that they want to see more of this, and the fact that our students are graduating with the skill makes they're reaching out to us to recruit from our graduating classes to work with them at the VA, the same at Langone and others. As part of both our clinical simulation and as part of integration of design thinking, we have to have a development of faculty to teach in new and different ways. And we have our Faculty Development Academy that has been moving forward to really pull together opportunities for how to do things differently, work with instructional technology, thinking about what we have in our blended technology in our classrooms to teach. We also have, through both provost funds, Aging Incubator, we've been involved in the NYU Healthcare Maker-thon, as well as the Aging Incubator, which is an initiative of the provost, and NYU's Entrepreneurial Institute. Some of our students and faculty are moving forward with entrepreneurial ideas. And we have integration of virtual reality into our simulation center to improve critical thinking. So this is where you put on those headsets, and or we also wire, pick up brain activity through heightened circulation. Natalie can explain it all. So that, as you are dealing with a tough conversation across a patient bed, and whether it's a palliative care conversation, or what if it's just a family member who's very uncomfortable with what's happening, or doesn't understand what's happening to the patient, or is concerned what's going on, and you're very busy and you're trying to do stuff, and they keep asking you the same question over and over again. Your response to that, to slow your pulse down, to really be able to be present with them, by having feedback of how fast your own pulse is going, how your muscles might be tense or not, gives feedback to how you can then be as calm as you need to be and engage with that family member. And that gives students a different way of really being able to work in difficult situations. And we know that the health and care environment right now is very challenging for its fast pace and its complexity. So we've added that to simulation in our technology. And in research, we have our research centers and innovation. We have our T32 Center for Behavioral Health Training and Substance Abuse Research. We have a T42. These are numbers that come out of the National Institute of Health. Occupational and Environmental Health Nursing, and Vicki Dixon's working on. And we have a P20, which is a beginning center for precision health care and health disparities as well, precision health and health disparities. That's being led by our faculty, Jackie Taylor, Gail Melkus, and Allison Vordestrasse, and many others, Vicki Dixon, along with putting that center together. And one of our goals when I first arrived was that we did not have any of these P's and T's. As I said, I wanted to see NIH research T's support postdoctoral training, predoctoral training, and P's, of course, support pilot studies to move it forward. And now we have several of them, so T's and P's. We have the Hartford Institute for Geriatric Nursing in its 25th year, doing its innovation work with mobile apps and online technology to access best care in geriatric nursing education, as well as for more and more for laypersons to understand how best to engage with elder care. We have special studies in symptom management led by Joyce Anastasi and her recent success in obtaining NIH funds and an R01. And we have the ongoing funding from the Muriel and Virginia Plass Center for Nursing Research. So we have a robust innovation center. Here's a really happy number to report. So we looked at what's the success when we go after research funds. And when we go after those research funds, what's the national average? So in 2017, the national average across the U.S. for when people applied for sponsored research, what was their success rate? So across the U.S. it was 23. In the state of New York it was 29%. At NYU it was 29%. And here at Myers in 2017 we were above all of those averages at 33% success rate. We only have the 2017 numbers for those, but we know that for 2018, Myers' success was 36%. So I don't expect that those other numbers, when we get them for the other groups, New York and US and NYU, will budge a lot, but we have moved forward with increasing success. And some of that has to do with the centers and the innovation we've put together. In our grant funding, we have some changes going on. This is the average per tenure track faculty. These are the funding amount for that group and the senior research scientists, some of whom I see today. So these numbers are reflected in what's the average number that the tenure track faculty members are bringing in at $264,406 average is a very, very good number. You might remember from other past State of the Colleges where I talked about that number being in the 300s, but that included a number of our HRSA and other clinical training awards for faculty. But we wanted to compare this to what the NYU numbers are, so we are doing this for this presentation for the tenure track faculty members, which are quite good. And these go across the range of National Science Foundation, National Institute of Health, CDC, and Agency for Healthcare Research Quality, AHRQ, the Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality. But then this year, NYU and the Provost Office put out opportunities to apply for NYU Curricular Challenge grants. And look at this, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of them, or 7 of them, including the NYU Aging, which is a larger cross-university award. But congratulations to Danielle Conklin and Candace Knight, who put together a trauma-focused psychotherapy experiential training for students in their program, in their master's program. Michelle Crespo-Fierro and the instructional technologist James Nagan put together a program on a Spanish course for NYU nursing students to meet patient care needs. Michelle Knapp put together development of a hybrid substance use course. Donna McCabe, Selena Gillis put together healthy aging so that for patients as educators. Nadia Sultana, Raquel Ramos, and Emerson Nia put together a new ethics in the use of technology for healthcare delivery component to a curriculum. And Linda Herman has been doing some really advanced technology, augmented reality, and innovation strategies for her graduate level advanced pathophysiology. If you haven't spent time looking at what you can learn through visualization and augmented reality in physiology, it totally takes the place of how we used to look at flat pictures in a textbook drawn by Frank Netter. Some of you who've been around as long as I have, these elegant drawings that he used to do. But as a child growing up in Philadelphia, one of the things everybody did in grade school was go to the Franklin Institute, we're nodding, and you go through a giant heart as a corpuscle. And so each kid, because you have to be a kid to go through it, because you get stuck in the arteries and the veins, and the heart's going boom, 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 you know. It's a very exciting thing, but it's this absolute fabulous way. You talk to anybody who grew up in Philadelphia, they know everything about the heart because they do that. Let's go through the heart again. So Linda brings this opportunity to every student because it's the augmented reality. And thank you to NYU for those grants from the Provost Office. And our grant funding, as you see in fiscal year 19, while we had faculty on average keeping up and doing grants on average per person, But we did take a dip because we transferred several grants to other schools in the university this last year, which was a better fit and a way to enhance research at NYU. So the Center for Drug Abuse and HIV/AIDS moved to the College for Global Public Health. And many of their researchers were public health. They had recruited some new public health. But when they moved, that was a Peace Center that went over there. So we retained some dollars, but some dollars moved over. And Mario Guaz, who had a number of grants in substance abuse research in that center, became the Associate Dean for Research at the Silver School for Social Work, and in actuality enhanced her ability to conduct that research because of some opportunities and some structures that they had to support her growth. But that means that for 1 year, some of those dollars moved and we dipped. But on average, the faculty are still producing that excellent work, and it gives us opportunities to recruit more people in and also collaborate across NYU schools for work, which is what we all aim to do. Just in terms of, this is how can we innovate, within a budget that, as you see, is 73% tuition and fees. Our overall revenues that come in are $83.2 million, and 16% of that is grant revenue. The niche program continues to be very active and have funds, and so we see a 5% of revenue to support their work, which is also nationally recognized. And we have, endowments and gifts where, you always want to see that growth there. But that's our revenue story. And of course, our expenses mostly go to salary and fringe benefits, other than personnel services, are everything from desks and walls and cubicles and supplies. I always say OTPS falls under Lance Irving. Thank you, Lance, for everything. And particularly shout out to Lance for the new activity going on in our lobby at 433 First Avenue. Thank you. And our administrative and university charges that we, of course, on average pay to the, for what we get from the university, we make sure we contribute to that. And that's pretty average for colleges of nursing across the country and research-intensive schools, and that hasn't budgeted or changed much over the year. And here's an important number that we've reported off and on, and thanks to Kim Glassman for working with Ellen Lyons on getting this number. So this is, as we know, when our students leave us, they might be employed at NYU Langone Health. There might be other people who go to work at NYU Langone Health in the Division of Nursing, and they want to get master's or doctoral degrees. And so they get what's called tuition remission from Langone Health Center. And then they take classes with us. And that is, our robust activity that we have in our master's specialties. That amount of money is increasing every year. So in 2018, it was nearly $5 million that comes to us. So it really demonstrates the positive relationship and reciprocal activity that we have with NYU Langone Health. And of course, NYU Langone Health is expanding too now with Winthrop, but also Brooklyn has been a very exciting place. I hear in the coffee shop students talking to one another about having a placement at Brooklyn, and I asked them how they liked it, and they were so excited. They just thought going to NYU Brooklyn was like the coolest thing. And I think part of that is like it's a different kind of a place. They felt they were very welcomed, and they had a lot of opportunities for hands-on work. And it was, a little bit less specialty or a procedure oriented. But now with Winthrop, we might have other opportunities as well, plus community activities. But thanks to, again, to Kim and for that work. Global, as we pull this together. So this year, you may or may not, 2020 has been declared by the WHO and the International Council of Nursing as the International Year of the Nurse and Midwife. Many schools of nursing around the world prepare nurses as both nurses and midwives. It's not a separate thing. So internationally, we use that International Year of the Nurse and Midwife. So there'll be a lot of activities. So it's a good time for us to be thinking this year about where we want to be with our global work. It'll fit in nicely with these international themes. This is the group that's putting the International Year of the Nurse and Midwife together, combined with ICN and WHO. And so it's important for us to remember that there is no more worldwide university in the United States than NYU. And so I want us all to think very carefully about how we can benefit and take advantage of opportunities that we have being at NYU and what we can do as NYU Myers to influence global nursing. This is a unique opportunity that I don't think any other school of nursing in the world has. And we have been engaged. So these are the many places where NYU has either a portal site or a degree granting site. We have been engaged in NYU Accra with leadership program in nursing. We've been engaged in Florence with our January course on health system comparison course. We have been engaged with that same course in NYU Buenos Aires. I've been involved in the NYU Washington, D.C. Area for courses in public health with the School of Public Health to undergraduate students. And on tomorrow, Wednesday, I leave for going to Shanghai, where I will be meeting both at Fudan University, NYU Shanghai, and then also Shanghai University to continue to look at opportunities for us with NYU Shanghai. And then I'm going on from there to NYU Abu Dhabi, where we've been invited to meet with Emirates leaders and NYU Abu Dhabi leaders on what are the opportunities for nursing in those areas. And it doesn't mean that this could be anything from a 2-week visit of students, comparative effectiveness. What about our new global track in our PhD program? Are there opportunities? Now at NYU Abu Dhabi, for example, there's a lot of public health research going on with large databases. Well, then does that give PhD students an opportunity to tap into those databases? So here's a way for us to really start to spread the word to the world that nursing has the opportunity to really have a global presence as a priority for us. And what we have been doing, of course, relates to a lot of health workforce activities and nurse workforce activities. In Africa, we have been very engaged in the Rwanda Health Ministry of funding to build up their workforce. NYU was the first in 2012 of 12 U.S. schools, medicine and nursing schools, to get engaged there. And these are master track programs for nurses in Rwanda that we have people on the ground doing that work. In Liberia, Robin Clark has been working on a subcontract with a HRSA grant out of Harvard to build up nurse workforce. Is Robin here? There she is. Robin, thank you for that work, along with others who've gone as well with her to Liberia. And in Ghana, we've been funded by Banco Santander for several years off and on for the Ghana Nurse Leadership Program, where the Ghanaian nurses come to New York for part of that program, and then also we have gone there. So that, keep in mind, is this thematic work of a nurse workforce development across the world that we have built a foundation around to do. At Fudan University, we've reached a preliminary agreement to develop a program around a PhD student exchange or co-mentoring for Fudan nurses maybe to come here for a few weeks to get engaged and also for faculty or PhD students who might want to conduct research with a different population. And Xiangjia School of Nursing in Xiangjia, Hunan, where I'll be giving a talk. This is the #1 ranked school of nursing in China, and Fudan's #2, so they keep going back and forth, but Fudan's in Shanghai. And they have an interest in developing a nurse practitioner training module. Jamie Newland's been working with them on that. Natalie Paslinsky has been helping them look at how to develop clinical simulation. And also Alison Vordestrasse has been looking at, again, what are PhD global track opportunities there. We also are a WHO collaborating center for aging and nursing. We've been that for a long time. Our focus is in Pan America. Nancy Vandevanter is the lead on that. You may remember that Madeline Nagel led that for a number of years. Nancy is doing that now. We have a meeting in a few weeks with the WHO collaborating centers in PAHO in Philadelphia that we'll be at to look at continued work that we're doing with workforce development and aging education in the Pan American area. So we have collaborative agreements. These are understandings of working together agreements with all of these schools. Fudan, as I mentioned, University of Hong Kong, the National Cancer Hospital in the Dominican Republic, again, the Ministry of Health in Liberia and Rwanda. Robin Clark's been working with this particular college in Liberia. We've been engaged in Lithuania for a number of years now, where they wanted to develop advanced practice nursing in Lithuania and came to us for advice. And they fund themselves through their government and Fulbrights to come and work with us to learn how to develop an NP curriculum. And Jamie Newland has been advising them for a number of years. And we also have a relationship with Universidad de Oviedo in Spain. So we have all of those, but we also should think about both global and local for how this comes together in what many people now are referring to as glocal. So what can we do globally? So here is Sunset Park, Brooklyn. Now, NYU Langone Health in Brooklyn, when the Lutheran Hospital and the health system became part of NYU several years ago, that included family health centers that were developed under the Lutheran and some when it was formerly part of St. Vincent's Hospital, but now it's part of NYU. So the Sunset Park area in Brooklyn is in New York State and nationally the most concentrated area of the Medicaid population anywhere. And many of the people who live there were born outside of the United States, and it's a very high Medicaid population with these very well-functioning family health centers that are now part of NYU. So we have been engaged with them. Donna Hellis has a HRSA grant. There is now a lot of interest in our nurse practitioner students being engaged in the family health centers there. There's school-based clinics as well as primary care clinics, and opportunities perhaps for our students to do health education clinics, health education programs to get engaged on the ground as part of community work. So Larry McReynolds, Isaac Dapkins are the leaders in that program. And Kim Glassman, Jim Pace, myself have been working with them to pull together an increasingly more formalized system for how we can, our school can be engaged in all of those clinics. And we've been talking about this for a while, but I think by January of this year, we will have a much more engaged and formal activity. They've been doing a lot of internal work for a number of years as they transitioned, and now I think the time is ready to leap in there and have a big nurse practitioner and nurse presence and student presence in those family health center systems. And through the Hartford Institute for Geriatric Nursing, that center under the leadership of Tara Cortez has been very busy for many years with funding from the Health Resources and Services Administration, HRSA, part of the HHS, since 2015 to do geriatric workforce enhancement. And that it takes place in the Bronx, as well as Tara recently received a subcontract from ArchCare that came via New York State to do training of both healthcare professionals, as well as reach out to peers of seniors to learn how to better engage and do home visits and reach out to seniors in senior care. So this is a very busy and very robust activity that we continue to be a major part of, that also has a global component because so many of the people are folks who come from around the world and speak many different languages and many different cultures and ethnicities. So it's a very robust effort. So with that, let's think about what our strategic plan will look like as we move ahead. Belonging, innovation, global, when that's our foundation. So we are starting during the summer. We've been interviewing consultants who we want to bring in for our strategic plan. And we have decided to bring in GroupWorks Global, which is led by Felice Tillin. We did a bidding on that, competitive bidding. And Felice, for those of you who were here, did our first one in 2013 with her group, as well as our Innovation Summit. And she's expanded her business as well, so there'll be more of staff coming in. The other interesting thing is that Felice just did the Columbia University School of Nursing strategic plan. So, we can learn from that as well, and we can share notes with our peers at Columbia. Lorraine Frazier and I get together regularly to see what each other are doing. And so we're going to begin now this fall with the committee work. By spring, we'll have probably mid-March or so, an all-college retreat, and then finalize the strategic plan in the summer of 20. So here's our 2020-2025 strategic planning committee. Thank you to everyone here for contributing. It's a big group, because it goes on to another slide here, but it'll be led by Ellen Lyons and Sean Clark to take the lead on this. And as you might remember, the last time we did this, we had a lot of small group work, focus group work, and with that, we understand that your attention is spread in many ways, so we've put a pause on some of our other committees that are related to this work, but then don't need to meet this year individually for those committees, and your work will be folded into this strategic planning work. So thank you for that, and I'm very happy to give us the summary and then feel inspired to really be thinking big as we step off into our next year and actually 5 years. So thank you for your attention and thank you for coming today.